So I just wanted to start with a little bit about our firm. So my name is Kristen, and I'm an attorney here in Las Vegas. But our firm, I think something that makes us unique with all the migration of people coming from California is that we do have offices in California and Nevada. So we're very familiar with both laws. Definitely seems to be something that's been really important to clients. And we really pride ourselves on being a one-stop shop for business owners. So Mark Laub, the owner of the firm, started the firm over 30 years ago, and he noticed that he was referring a lot of business out, right? He would do one part of somebody's transaction, but then he was referring out to the M&A attorney or to the real estate, to litigators. And so he made a firm that could be a one-stop shop for those business owners. So now our team, we have attorneys in these various areas. And then myself, I focus on the estate planning. So this is our firm in Las Vegas. We actually have another attorney starting in a few weeks, and we have a few paralegals. But this is specifically our Nevada team. And similar to what Shane mentioned, we take a 4-pillar approach to our planning. So we are incorporating tax planning, whether that be income tax planning, especially for California residents, estate tax planning, succession planning. So that would be passing on your business, asset protection planning, and then estate planning. These are some of the different tools. I'm going to focus today on the asset protection trust, but I at least wanted to mention these other types of trusts because they're really a hot topic right now. Currently, our estate tax is $13.61 million for your lifetime exemption. But under the current tax code, that's due to sunset at the end of 2025. So definitely, right, the clock is ticking. It's going to be here before we know it. And these are some of the tools that we use in that planning. And when we're looking at these different trusts, oftentimes we're asking business owners for a financial statement and a tax return, and then looking at what are your goals. Is it important to you to be a beneficiary of the assets? How much of your assets are you comfortable with gifting? How much gifting have you already done? What amount do you have remaining of your lifetime exemption? Looking at the assets specifically, what assets have big appreciation potential? What is the basis of those assets? So we're going to take into account all of those factors and figure out what tool is right for you. And then I think another thing to go along with that is something that Shane mentioned, is that a lot of times it's going to be a stacking. We're going to start with that revocable trust as the foundation. Maybe asset protection is important, so we're going to incorporate that in. But maybe we have an estate tax issue. So it's really a building. And I'll have clients say, okay, but Kristen, when are we done? Like, when are we going to put a bow on this and be done? And it's like, we're probably not, right? So we like to get all of your assets into your revocable trust, and then we're peeling them off into these different vehicles to obtain your objectives. So here is a snapshot of our Nevada Asset Protection Trust. We have clients from all over the country that come and utilize our Nevada law for asset protection trusts. You don't have to be a Nevada resident to have an asset protection trust. So as I just mentioned, a lot of times the assets, we want to sit them in this revocable trust to avoid probate. And then we're going to start peeling them off. What are some savings assets? What are assets that you wouldn't have to touch for 1 to 2 years? And that's the assets we're going to start peeling off into this asset protection trust. So as you can see here, most times we're going to set up these asset protection trusts as a grantor trust, which means that the income tax passes through to you. It's reported on your personal tax return, so there's no change in income tax. And for that reason, the grantor can also be the investment trustee. And the reason that that's important is that for the asset protection feature, you want an independent distribution trustee. And that is a hard thing. That's a hard concept, that somebody else is in control. Now, with these types of trusts, the grantor has the ability to remove and replace the trustee, but it's still, it's a struggle for a lot of clients with that idea that somebody else is going to have control of my assets. But what we can do to sort of mitigate that is that the grantor could still be the investment trustee. They could still be controlling how the assets are invested. That could be taking mutual funds and investing in real property or investing in a business. But when the assets actually come out of the trust, we would need to involve the distribution trustee. The other caveat of the distribution trustee is that it has to be a Nevada resident. So that could be an individual, a bank, a professional trust company. But when the trust is self-settled, meaning that the grantor is a beneficiary, there must be a Nevada trustee. But a great part is that the grantor can also be a beneficiary of this trust. So this kind of gives you a basic picture of the asset protection trust. Some of the other features, so kind of went over this, but it allows self-settled trust, meaning that whoever sets it up can also be the beneficiary. There's no exemption creditors. So this is something that sets Nevada apart. But if there's a judgment against you, there aren't any creditors that are going to be able to go after that. For example, let's say you have a judgment against you for child support. The assets that have been properly seasoned in this trust are not going to be able to be used to enforce that child support. Alimony. So other states have those type of exceptions. Nevada does not. So best-in-class statutes, like I mentioned. So this trust can last 365 years. So that is, something in terms of legacy planning, passing down assets through the generations. This trust can last a long time. Statute of limitations. Again, Nevada has a short statute of limitations compared to other states. There's a 2-year seasoning requirement. So when the asset is transferred into the trust, that clock starts. So there is a 2-year seasoning. And so this is pre-planning, right? A lot of times we have clients say, I just got in an accident, I got sued. What kind of planning can we do, right? And that's not the call we want to get. This is something that sort of like insurance, but definitely pre-planning. The zero tax consequences relates back to the fact that this is reportable on your personal or the grantor's income tax return. So there's no change in tax with this type of trust. Legacy planning. So this trust is also going to include your family. A lot of what Shane talked about in terms of distribution, who's going to receive your assets and when, that's all going to be included here. And one thing about estate planning, it's kind of like the game Sudoku. It's like, here's plan A, but if that doesn't work, here's plan B, and here's plan C. And so that would all be incorporated in. It's also a way to give you control after you've passed. Being able to say when and how your heirs are going to receive those assets. So it can be used for estate tax planning. Oftentimes, that's not our practice to use this type of trust for that, but certainly it could be used for that. So this is a concept that I really felt needed a visual because it's tough. And it's this idea that when you serve as the investment trustee, you can change how the assets are invested. And it's not unless the asset comes out of the bucket that you have to involve the distribution trustee. So I think that this, can help with that idea of giving up that control to a third party. But like I said before, maybe there's cash and you want to invest in real property or invest in a business, right? As long as it's staying inside the bucket, that's an investment decision. That person could still utilize an asset protection trust, but they would need to be comfortable with the idea that if there was an asset protection issue, that they would sell that asset and move it to a bank like GBank. So we use GBank for a lot of our asset protection, and one reason we love it so much is they're only in Nevada. So if you were with a bank that maybe had a sister location in California and they want to take that judgment against you to that bank, that's not going to happen with somebody like GBank. So we'd want to be in a Nevada-only bank. And with that, that's all I have for today, and hope you all learned something about asset protection trust, and I would definitely say to remember to do it sooner than later.